Y'all love to act like people that work at an office sitting in front of a computer all day don't do shit. But if you've never worked doing that, you don't know what the mental burnout is. Your brain be literally fried. You can't think, you can't talk to nobody, you can't put words together, you can't remember, brain fog like a, and you still gotta go to work.
I'm literally 6 months into my first corporate job and I already want to quit.
Corporate burnout is a real thing, and I think I used to dance and prance around that word until I had to seek medical care last week because of how unstable I was mentally because I was so burnt out.
Hi. So today we're going to see why everyone is burnt out. So if you are in that situation, just know that you are not alone. Let's go.
Y'all love to act like people that work at an office sitting in front of a computer all day don't do shit. But if you've never worked doing that, you don't know what mental burnout is. Your brain be literally fried. You can't think, you can't talk to nobody, you can't put words together, you can't remember, brain fog like a, and you still gotta go to work and still gotta work on reports, still gotta email people, talk to people, have this small talk with your coworkers that you don't give a about, but you gotta because you work there, so you have to. It's like, yeah, when you're physically tired, you're probably sore, your body hurts, you're whatever, right? You could still think, you could still talk, you could still put words together. When you're mentally exhausted, yeah, my body works, my body feels fine, but I can't even think. I can't even, like, I think of something and then the next minute I forget. And I still gotta go to work. Like, I'm mentally exhausted.
So I wouldn't say that corporate is harder than manual labor. I think the way they hit it, it hits different. Manual labor, it takes a toll on your body, and corpo, it takes a toll on your mental. And sometimes why it's corpo may seem harder, it's because when your mental isn't working, nothing is working anymore. You don't want to move. You get in a dark state where the simplest decisions are exhausting. For example, choosing what to eat, choosing what to wear. So in the comments, someone said, not to mention the commute on top of that. I think we should be paid for the commute, depending on how far you live, because it's still work hours. It's true, you're not doing the job itself, but you are away from your home, you are away from your activities, you are away from your family. So another one said, yo, I worked front desk at a clinic for 1.5 years, asked for a raise and got laughed at. The mental exhaustion for $17 was a slap to the face. Now I work for a cleaning company for 50 cents less, and I have no regrets because I don't miss feeling the way she's saying she's feeling. Yep, at some point, no matter how high the pay is, it's never worth your health. Because when you have those problems, it takes time in order to take care of it. You start having PTSD, but in a weird way. You know, some war veterans, they had PTSD when they heard the fireworks, but some corporate people, they will have PTSD when they start hearing the Microsoft Teams notification or the Outlook notification sounds.
So I got home from work the other day and I laid down on the floor and I literally just thought I was going to die. And my husband, in his wonderful, loving voice, says, "Why are you so tired? You've been sitting at a desk for 8 to 10 hours. I don't get it." Not everybody will understand this, but the amount of mental exhaustion that goes into the day, back-to-back meeting, phone calls, navigating personalities, weaving through being gaslit in every different direction. And if you ask me to do one thing or make a decision, I'm going to lose my mind. Am I right?
Not every company, but some companies, they have a pretty toxic culture. And it requires more energy to deal with that toxic culture than doing your own work. That's why some people are less productive in certain companies, because they are too busy navigating in the politics and making sure that they are not in a situation where they be used. So being always aware about your surroundings requires a huge amount of energy that should have been put into the work itself. That's why nowadays the corporation, they're more strict when it comes to the working culture, making sure that everyone is respectful. And what is sad about it is some companies, they reward more the person who knows the politics. So what I mean by that is the person who knows how to market his job, a person who's good at selling himself, and who to target. So who's going to take the big decisions, and how is that person going to pitch his job and his value to what that person who's taking the big decisions, who's giving the promotions, etc.
Corporate burnout is very real. I know people that are 27, 28, 29 that are already burnt out of corporate America because it's draining. It's sucking everything out of your life, especially in a world where you can't really afford much. I am an advocate for taking your PTO, creating a long weekend, maybe taking a Friday and a Monday off. Job security is important and making sure that you keep your job, but at the same time, you're not just solely existing to work your corporate job. A lot of people in their 20s especially get caught in a rat race, chasing the next promotion, trying to job hop for the next salary bump. Make sure that you're enjoying your life and you're not spending 50, 60, 70 hours grinding. And then when you wake up at 28, 29, burnt. Something else that I've talked about a few times is make sure that you're not solely living for the weekend. It is not really a good existence to grind Monday through Friday, have nothing to do. By the time Saturday and Sunday come, you're burnt. Mix in some karaoke on a Tuesday. Go catch a sporting event or go watch a game with one of your homies. Go to a pottery class, go to Pilates. Mix up the week. Take control of your life. Do things that operate outside of your 9 to 5, your 50-hour, 60-hour week. Your employer is not the sole reason that you're existing. There's more life to live out there.
So I can understand that some people, they're not open into taking PTOs because when you work in a fast competitive workplace, every day counts. So when you take days off or when you take long weekends, it will affect your performance. Because the fact that you missed a Monday where there were many meetings, you'll have to spend your lunch hours or after work hours rewatching all the meetings you missed. Because in some places like mine, they record the meetings for those who are absent. Some corpos, they make sure that you are busy in those 8 hours, fully busy, that you don't even have enough room to breathe. So if you want to catch up from what you missed, you'll have to spend an extra 1 to 2 hours watching the records, reading the emails that were sent to you when you were absent. And it just makes your day longer, at least the first day. So in the comments, someone said, baby, those of us over 50 are burnt out. Lesson learned the hard way about taking that PTO and carrying your mental health and physical wellness. The way nowadays the corporates are designed, it's meant for you to be burnt out. Because you are competing against colleagues that put around 10, sometimes 12 hours a day. And those colleagues are putting the bar extremely high, and the manager expects everyone to perform as good as them.
I'm literally 6 months into my first corporate job and I already want to quit.
People have to understand this new generation of workers, they are not cut out for the monotony of a corporate office job anymore. There was a study that was conducted. It was a mental health comparison of people who worked manual labor jobs in comparison to people who worked corporate office jobs. And what they found is that the manual labor workforce has a more positive outlook on life in comparison to people who work in corporate office jobs. And that is because office jobs are physically, mentally, and emotionally draining. Some would say office jobs are honestly harder than manual labor jobs because sitting in one place all day for 5 to sometimes 6 days a week, all the time for months on end, and having that monotonous everyday routine can actually drain you and cause you to be more depressed than any other job.
I'll tell you what I think. Human beings, they were not meant to sit around 8 hours on a cubicle with fake lights. The fact that you don't see the sun, you stare at a screen for 8 hours, and that screen isn't even stimulating. Because if it was watching a movie or doom scrolling, at least your brain would get dopamine from it. But it's just something that is stale. And once you get out, it's just your brain will struggle to readapt. You'll start stuttering when you speak to people. You start confusing things that should have been simple for you. And that's how you know that you were extremely exhausted and you were in an environment that you weren't supposed to be.
corporate burnout is a real thing. And I think I used to dance and prance around that word until I had to seek medical care last week because of how unstable I was mentally because I was so burnt out. I think it's a term that we really try to use as like, oh, I'm so tired, I have corporate burnout, but it really gets really scary. And I think that a lot of us ignore this because it's just something that we make common, especially here in America. But I came across a video the other day and it was a lady, she was stuttering. Literally, she could not speak. Her ability to speak was not there because she was just so stressed out. And stress can do so much harm to the body. And I realized that last week. That's when I was like, okay, this is just too much. I also realized that I put too much of my value in the work that I do. I think as Black women, we tend to do this a lot because we're in white spaces. We're in spaces where people tend to not see our value, or they don't give us the credit. And so we feel like we have to overcompensate to show people why we deserve to be in that space. And this is me specifically. And I know that there's other women out there who feel the same way, especially if you pride yourself on being a high performer.
I think this is beyond skin color and gender. Whether you are a white woman, you'll have something to prove when you go to a corporate. Whether you are a young white man, you'll have something to prove when you go to the corporate. For example, some of your colleagues will be jealous to you because you are young and you have an equal position to theirs, or you may even be their boss. And no matter how hard you try to be nice, there will still be friction between you. Just like this comment, I do my job and I'm kind, but they still don't like me because I don't fit in. So sadly, I'm getting pushed out. For them, I either conform and be fake or they are mean to me. This is one of the reasons why people are burnt out, because when it comes to corporate, you just don't come, do your job and leave. The problem is you need to blend in, you need to navigate with the corporate politics, you need to embrace another personality that isn't yours for 8 hours, 40 hours a week. And it makes sense that people get burnt out and they lose their identity, they lose their morals on the process. Someone else said, I had really checked myself out because I've been having dizzy spells, my face twitching and my eye glitching and ish. It's a lot. Yep, it's true. During December, I felt that my eyelid was twitching really hard. But when I took a 2-week vacation and I came back, it was just gone. So I knew that problem came from the stress.
I'm about to say something that feels a little bit wrong to admit. I've been unemployed for so long that I'm really not excited to go back to another corporate position at this point. And the thing is, people keep rooting for me like, oh, you're gonna find such a badass corporate job. But people don't realize that's not even what I want anymore. After sitting with myself after so many rejections, I'm like, why am I even chasing this in the first place? It almost makes me uncomfortable when people project that version of success onto me. I'm not unmotivated and I'm not giving up. I just don't feel right running back to something that drained me and then calling it a win, you know?
With today's job market, trying to find a job is a full-time job itself. You're going to spend so many hours personalizing your resume for a specific position, then sending emails to the recruiters, then having the job interviews. And sometimes in some companies, you can have up to 3 job interviews. I've seen companies where I had 6 job interviews and I had to give up on the 6th because it was keep going on. I'd rather have a job interview where you have a lot of people in it than having one-on-ones during every 2 weeks for months and months and months. Some job interviews can really feel like a humiliation ritual. Imagine you get into an interview and you beg for people to like you. Because if they don't like you, there's no chance for you to get the job. So sometimes it's not even about your skills, but it's more about, are you likable? Are you funny? Someone else said in the comments, I got my dream corporate office job, going on to 7 years loyal. Last week, they informed us that they are, quote unquote, restructuring the company and is letting go the whole department I worked in. I missed the events because of work and would stress out if I had to call off to do something for me. Never again. So this is why a lot of people are job hopping, because loyalty in these companies doesn't pay anymore. For example, if you stay loyal to the same company, you're going to lose money compared to the new ones, the new hires, because they're getting paid way more because the average salary in the market usually increase when they want new talents. And loyalty doesn't always equal to stability. So the fact that you've stayed there, let's say 10, 20 years, when it's time for restructuration or massive layoffs, they don't try to look at the people who were the most loyal. What they look for is the department that is less productive, if I may say. Sometimes it's not even the case, but they focus on a department and they clean it up, the whole department. They don't care if you spend there 25 years. They don't care if you made them 25 million a year. When it comes to massive layoffs, it's the whole department that goes to the trash.
I make the most money that I've ever made in my life, and right now I'm questioning, is it even worth it? In 2017, I started off in insurance sales, got my insurance license. Then I transitioned over to human resources, and now I'm working in personal injury. And I am so burnt out from having a corporate job. I don't know what to do. It's the metrics, the expectations, all of the changes, and just so many things that have me stressed out every day. When I was working in low skill, manual, physical labor jobs, I was much happier. No, I wasn't making a lot of money, but I wasn't stressed out on an everyday consistent basis. I got to do my job and go home. I didn't have to worry about office politics and all of the things that I have to worry about working at a corporate job. I wasn't sitting at home at 9:30 at night thinking, oh my God, did I send that email? Okay, when I come in the morning, I got to do X, Y, and Z. I just was able to do my job and leave that on the floor, come home and live my life. This is not that. And although I am extremely grateful for my job and I appreciate the money that I make, I don't know if it's worth it. Anybody else feel that way? Comment down below.
So someone in the comments said, I got a marketing degree, so what the corporate life was about. I became a bartender instead. Get out now, life is short. Yep, I usually think about it being a bartender or a farmer. Because, for example, the people who work in tech, most of them, once they leave the tech industry, they do something completely different. It became like a trend. Whenever tech bros leave their companies, they go become farmers. I've seen lately one of our architects who left the company to become a goose farmer, and he's pretty happy now.
Something to keep in mind if you end up choosing a soul-sucking job with a higher salary is that, ironically, there's a scenario in which you end up having less money. So, like, let's say you end up choosing a job where it pays 30% more, but you absolutely hate it. You dread every single minute of that job. Well, what happens a lot of times is those people come home, they do their drinks, their ganja, whatever it is, and then eventually they realize that is not even enough to counteract the depression they experience at work. So they turn to something like spending. People who are not even materialistic, who were very responsible about spending and saving in the past, all of a sudden they're like, I need something else. So they start spending. They start buying gadgets they don't use. They start buying food they don't eat and clothes they don't wear. And before you know it, the job that was paying 30% more means you actually have less saved because you're spending 40 or 45%.
Yep, that is true. Spending a lot of money is a coping mechanism for stressed out people to get that quick dopamine hit. Because once they buy it and receive it, they don't use it anymore, and they're ready to move to the next item. And that dopamine hit will allow them to forget about their pain, their stress, but only for the short term. That's why they are compulsive buyers. They buy, keep buying, because it's endless cycle that needs to be fed with money until you go broke. So the first comment said, the people who are commenting the more money is always better have not truly have a high paying but soul wrenching, life ruining job. Yep, it's true. It's extremely accurate, because what happens is in corporation, nothing is free. So if you get paid let's say random numbers, $100,000 a year, it probably means that you are producing around 200,000 to 300,000, and that's how the company make profit. He will pay you 100 and take the extra 200. And this is the reason why some people are running away from a high-paying job, because you'll be paid 10% or 20% around what you are truly producing, and they expect you to handle the stress of that extra 8% that you don't get paid off, that goes to the shareholders' pocket. Look, this one also said, this exactly happened to me. I actually ended up with so much debt. Yep, your source of income can easily affect the amount you're spending, depending on how much stress. For example, if you are in a job where you clock in, let's say 10 to 12 hours, there's a high chance for you to stop cooking, because cooking takes time. Every single day or every 3 days when you have to cook, you won't have that time. When you get out of the job, you're exhausted. So what do? You start ordering. And that job is stressing you so badly that you always need a vacation, let's say every trimester, or you're going to lose your mind. And then those vacation you paying also starting to stack up, and it becomes a debt. You go from positive into your last job to negative into your new job, even though you get paid even more.
I was just having a conversation with a friend, and we were talking about how everyone just feels so exhausted right now. And when I say exhausted, I mean exhausted with everything. People are exhausted with work. People are exhausted with corporate America. People are exhausted with this administration. People are exhausted with the systems that have been put in place. People are opting out of the systems. People are choosing to move abroad. People are choosing to quit their jobs and to do their own thing. And I don't blame people. It just feels like there has just been a black cloud that has been looming over everyone and over this entire world. And I think we as a people, because I know I feel it, everyone is just experiencing burnout at a quicker rate. Honestly, I don't think life is supposed to be this way. I don't think we're supposed to be experiencing this much.
I truly think that we are right now at a breaking point where most people aren't as productive as they should be because the reward isn't there. You'll work hard, let's say 8 to 10 hours a day. It doesn't guarantee you're going to have a house without another extra income, without your spouse. And sometimes two people, when they gather their wealth, it's still not enough in today's economy. So people will ask themselves, why? Right now you are sacrificing your life. You're spending so much time in your job, and it doesn't guarantee you having financial stability. It doesn't guarantee you having a good 401k because the inflation goes goes up extremely fast that it will turn your 401k into a worthless value. So someone said, my job makes me hate my life, which is unfortunate because for me, the most important wealth is health. So no matter how rich you are, if you don't have health, you won't have time or energy, or you won't be in the mood to enjoy that money itself. What is sad is the system is built in a way where you start enjoying your money when you are useless, quote unquote, useless to the society. So when your health is degraded, when your life expectation is pretty low because you hit retirement, that's when you start enjoying the money, and you won't even be able to enjoy it properly because, let's be real, when you get older, your knees get weaker, your energy is lower, your bladder is smaller, and all that money you saved will go to your grandkids. And I'm afraid that it won't even be enough because at this rate, the inflation is going up so fast that your grandkids will see it as pocket change. So someone in the comments said, the 2 days off we have off just fly by. Before you know it, it's right back to work. It's draining. Yeah, I don't think that 2 days is enough with our actual system. I think we should have at least 3 days, like what Japan did, because they were going extinct. So what they did was the weekend was 3 days instead of 2, because people didn't have time for social life. People didn't have time to meet. People didn't have time to fall in love because they were constantly stressed. And 2 days is only enough to rest a tiny bit, but not to have that social life.
I think I just figured out why I'm so burnt out at work. My roommate just sent me this video that said, if you're accountable for outcomes but have no real decision-making power, then you're going to be constantly locked in a state of stress with no real relief. And I think this is why so many people want to quit their corporate jobs and start something of their own, even if it means working much harder and much longer hours.
When we come back to corpos, the problem is the people who take decisions never deal with the consequences. The one who deals with the consequences are usually those who don't take the decision. When they clean up the department, a department, or they do massive layoffs, the managers are not affected. And the problem is, it's the manager's mistake. They miscalculate something, and their expectations are extremely high. And when that department doesn't reach it, then they decide to lay them off. I think that it's time for the people who take decisions to start dealing with the consequences. You see so many companies doing mistakes, and it's the employees, unfortunately, who paid. Lately, you had Ubisoft Halifax that was closed, but it wasn't their fault. It wasn't that specific department. What happened was their CEO was just taking bad decisions and trying to squeeze every single penny out of the gamers. And now the gamers woke up and they are retaliating. They're voting with their wallet. They stopped buying new games because it's like rinse and repeat. They play the same games over and over without any type of creativity. And when the revenue starts dropping, so they decide to lay off the departments that didn't have anything to do with those types of problems, Because when you take those departments, they just take orders. You tell them what to do, what game to create, and they do it. And now you are the one choosing what type of game you want to be created. How is it going to be monetized? And you, as the manager, if you fail that, I think you got to be the one who jumps. And that's what I respect about Japanese culture. Because with Nintendo, I remember Satoru Iwata, he was the CEO of Nintendo. When they launched the Wii U, it failed miserably. But the CEO, what he did was take a 50% pay cut in order to keep his employees. And I think that should be normalized in the Western societies. You, as a CEO, whenever you make mistake, they got to take a paycheck. They got to take a pay cut on your paycheck. And they will think twice, because when they have no accountability, they can do whatever they want. And what I notice is most CEOs nowadays, they always sacrifice the companies in the short term instead of focusing in the long term, because they come for 5 years and they want to max out the shareholders' profit and jump to the next company because they're going to have a huge bonus when they get recruited by the competition. Like someone said in the comments, all the responsibility with no authority. Yep. Another one said, there are so many ways my job could be more productive, but all the people who get to make those decisions literally don't know how to do it and won't listen to anyone who does. Yep. Usually the full package of those people is making bad decisions, not taking accountability, and most importantly, never listen to those who know what they're talking about, the experts. That's why for me, in corporation, you gotta work well, but enough not to get fired. And the extra time you're gonna have on your hand, you focus on a side hustle or an activity or a passion that makes you feel better. Because if you invest everything in a corporation, you put a lot of hours and you miss a promotion, you get extremely disappointed because it's like putting all your eggs in one basket. So this is it. This was the video. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you ever experience a burnout in the comments. I'll be glad to answer you as soon as possible. Take care. Ciao.